So in order to make our example site look like the final product, we're going to need the help of views. Views is by far the most powerful module contributed to Drupal. So powerful, in fact, that it's part of Drupal core in version 8. So now we're going to get started by just doing a quick import of the views that we need. So we're going to go to Structure and then Views, just to see what we have available to us already. By default, when you enable views, there will be several views readily available, which are listed here. The admin views module that we enabled earlier created the administration comments, administration nodes, and administration users view overrides. And those change the way that content, comments, and people display, allowing you to filter and do bulk operations on nodes and users. Let's actually go ahead and import some of the views that we need. So if we click the import button, what we can do is we can copy and paste the code that we have in our file here to make the views that we need. For right now, we're going to worry about these three: blog, events, and plans, which are on the home page. So if we open up the blog and copy that, we can paste it in there and click import. And what this import gives us is a page/blog, which has a menu link blog that lists the teasers of published articles and arranges them from newest to oldest. That's all this is doing. We can take a look at the preview. Since we only have one blog, it's only going to show us the one article. We also see that it created a feed, which is helpful if we want to send this data out to something else, another website, mobile application, something of that nature. And it also created a block, which we'll use on the home page, which just lists the newest article. We can go ahead and click Save on that. Let's go back to the Views admin screen and import another view. This time we're going to import events. Here's a problem. We need panels fields enabled to display it the way that the final website does. So let's jump over real quick into our modules administration screen and turn on panels. Now here's where things start to get complicated. We can use views and panels together, panels by themselves, views by themselves, views as blocks, and a whole bunch of other concepts that really go to the heart of Drupal's modular nature. The reason we're going to use panels in this view is simply because we want it to lay out in a very specific way, a way that we can't achieve just by views itself. And that way is to lay this out in a column layout, specifically a 3-column layout. Here we see when I clicked on Show Settings that we're going to have the image on the left and the other content in the middle section. We're going to leave the third section empty to give some breathing room and to structure the content better. For this, you'll also notice that we're not using the teaser. We're using panel fields. Under Show, we have different options. We have Content, which will just give us the displays that we set up in a previous video, the specific fields themselves, Panel fields, which just gives us layout control within views, and the rendered entity, which would render out an entity display, which we won't get into in this video series. So we'll just leave that as panel fields for now. What we see is we can add whichever fields we like. We got a whole host of them. But we already have this set up, so let's just take a look at what we're doing with these individual fields. For title, we have taken off the label. We've made this link to its original piece of content. And under style settings, we've set this to be customize the field HTML to be an H2, a heading 2 field. So that's why it displays the way it does. We've also gone into the image and set it to be the medium file size and gotten rid of the label. We've adjusted the date to show both the start and ends, to display in long format. And lastly, the event type we've set up to be a link so that if you click on it, you'll get a list of all the workshop events. And again, this is a page, so we have a URL/events and a menu item for this. We also have a block that we've configured, which will show the next 2 events that are upcoming. Here we see that we have less fields. We're just using fields. We're displaying them in an HTML list. So if we look at these formats, we have grid, which will set up all the content in divs, HTML list, which will use lists, jump menu, which will provide a drop-down list where we can jump through content, a table, or unformatted list, which is what we're using before. So when we look at what this looks like, we see we have a bullet point for the list, the name, and the date. Nice and helpful for where we're going to use it in the sidebar. So let's go ahead and hit save on that. And the last view we're going to import are the plans. Again, plans is making use of panels, and since we've previously enabled it, we should be all set. And we are. We're using panel fields. We're laying out a specific layout. In this case, just a 2-column layout. And we're setting them to be ascending by post date, since we would have added them in order. And we also have a block that will pull a featured plan. Now, notice that we have a filter criteria here of sticky is yes, and that in our preview we have nothing. The reason we have nothing is that the plan we've created isn't sticky. The minute we make this sticky, it'll work. So we need to go ahead and do that after we save. So let's hit save. And let's go and make that piece of content sticky. Now, because of admin views, we have the ability to search these things by title, type, author, their published status, their vocabulary, and we have the ability to do bulk operations. In this case, we know it's the drop-in, so let's go ahead and do a bulk operations modification on that. And from the drop-down, we see stick. So let's go ahead and do that. That will make our content sticky. And just to prove that it worked, let's just jump back to views real quick and into plans. And let's take a look at our block. There we go, our drop-in's there. Perfect. All right, so now that we've added those 3 views, let's look at how we could add them to create the home page. So if we look at our final product, we see we have this image area and then 3 views underneath. And these views are the block versions. One way we could set this up is by creating a basic page and then overriding all of it. The other way we could do this is by using panels. If we want to use panels for the home page, as we do on the final product, we need to enable Page Manager and Panels in Place Editor, just to show you the power of panels. Let's go ahead and click Save Configuration. Now under Structure, we have Pages, and we can add a custom page. So let's go to Add Custom Page. Administrative title for this is going to be Home Page. URL is going to be /home. Notice that when we make a custom panel page, we can set it to be the home page by default. That's a handy feature, and we're going to go ahead and take advantage of it. Otherwise, we would need to go to Configuration, System, and Site Information to set the panel page, to be the home page, or to set any page to be the home page. Additionally, we could set optional features like different controls or selection criteria, but in this case, it's always going to be the home page, so we don't have to worry about it. And in this case, we're going to use the 3 columns, 33, 34, 33 stacked, and click Continue. And then under our panel content, what we're going to want to do is actually take full advantage of the in-place editor. So let's look at in-place editor. In our panel content, we can add classes, remove Drupal's blocks and regions, which we'll do here, so we don't have to override them in the blocks administration, and add a whole bunch of CSS code if we really wanted to. Let's first take a look at what panels looks like as a standard in the standard panels version, and then look at why we might want to use in-place editor. So here's panels by itself. We can come here, we can add content, and adding content we can choose from a whole number of things. In our case, we're going to pick miscellaneous, and then there's our views, views blog, views events, and views plan. Or we can create new custom content. So if we wanted to add the image, we could go to new custom content, give it an administrative title called, hero image or something like that, and then add it via the image interface. So let's just go ahead and do that, just to show how it works. We'll upload it. And then add it to our page. And you know what? We'll add our tagline above this. And we'll go ahead and make that an H1. And make sure this is full HTML. Great. And now we'll hit finish. And now we'll hit update and save. And then take a look at our home page. Okay, getting there. There's some other things we want to do here. We don't really want it to say home. So if we come back here, right now we see that the title type is manually set. We want to say that's no, update and save. Now we need to add the views to our triptych below the hero image. And so we know how to add it from here, so we could just take a look at real quick at how to add one of them. We go to add content. They're hiding under miscellaneous right now. And the first one we have is the plan. And we can click finish and update and save. Let's go ahead and refresh. Great. We've got our featured plan and it's displaying. Now, just to show you contrast, here's our standard way of dealing with panels, which is a panels administrative screen. But there's another way we can look at this. If we go to General, we have In-Place Editor enabled. So let's go ahead and look at what the In-Place Editor gives us. Go back to Content. Nothing's changed. The reason nothing's changed is because it hasn't changed here, but it's changed on the front end. If we reload the front page, we now have this new functionality on the bottom of the screen where we can customize this page and also change the layout. If we click Customize this page, what we can see is we now have a front end way of dragging and dropping these items around, of editing them, of removing them, and of adding others. This is one of the reasons why I think panels is so helpful, is because as a site builder, you can come in here and with a few clicks, you can see what your site is going to look like even before you commit the changes. We've come in here, we've set these up. Say we didn't like how this looked. If we use the regular panels screen, we'd have to take a look at it, come back, change it, save it, come back, because again, the preview doesn't really give us something true. Here, we could just scrap these changes by hitting cancel, or commit them by hitting save. And there we go. We're pretty much done with the homepage of the website. Not much different, except our little disclaimer is now at the bottom here. If we want to drag the disclaimer down, what we can do is we can go into our blocks administration again, and take our disclaimer and click configure. And you know what? We don't want the title for this anymore, so let's make it less than, none, greater than, which will get rid of our title. And let's throw it in the footer and click Save Block. And while we're at it, let's just put the disclaimer above the Powered by Drupal and click Save Blocks. Now if we look at our home page, we're near identical. There's a couple things that are different. If we look at the menu, it's ordered differently. So let's go ahead and fix that real quick in our menus. Main menu, just drag and drop them into the right locations. Click Save. In the last video, we're going to cover managing users and look at some interesting things we can do with users and views. And we'll just touch briefly on the importance of caching to close out the series.